Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, today I want to talk to you a little about recurve bows, compound bows, but this is also a review on my Indian recurve bow. Now I can imagine a lot of you are thinking, this guy has got a cheap, junky bow. You know what? You got to start somewhere, okay? And that's the way I look at it. And besides, it was free. Am I complaining? Hell no. Okay, I got this thing about 9-10 years ago. I had to put out 17 bucks for a custom made string. I wanted a good quality string. Okay, I was shooting bows when I was a kid. Okay, and my first bow was actually one that I found in the neighbor's garbage can. And me and my buddy, we kind of put things back together as best as we could with it. It was a one-piece fiberglass jobby, but it had a wood core in between the split. So we had some repair work to do, but we got her up and running, and we even took her to the archery lanes too, plus shooting in the backyard. It was fun, you know, and I like the recurve bows. I think they're really cool, but I don't know why. You know, don't ask me why I think they're cool, but I think they're cool, okay? And I like shooting bows, and for years, you know, I mean, I got out of bow shooting, obviously, for a lot of years. And I've, you know, been into pellet guns and all that stuff since I was a kid too, and never really quit. Bow shooting is very relaxing, I find, and it's fun when you're hitting targets, not just a box with a target, but when you're trying to shoot things like, you know, apples or blow up an 8-track player. Like we've got some videos up on my channel that, you know, we're doing a few destruction things with bows, and this thing actually has some good power in it. Now, they rate these things at about a 30-pound draw, but I think they're a little bit more than that, at least this model is, because I've got this one here in the corner as well that I'm going to show you, and it's also another Indian bow, and the only real difference, you know, to look at it is the handle, but that one doesn't have quite the pull that this one does. That one there is probably sitting around 20-25. It just doesn't have the gumption, you know, and the nuts that this one has. And so anyway, but I like shooting this one. This is my favorite of the two. Now, what I didn't know that I've learned recently is about eye dominance. Okay, now, primarily when I shoot a rifle, I shoot left-handed, but I also, you know, I got my right eye closed, my left eye open, you know, and I'm really good with a rifle. Okay, not so great with a pistol. But I kind of like pistols, but I love rifles, okay? And I'm pretty good at them. So I thought, you know, there's no sights on this thing, and I didn't even know of the word instinctive shooting until not all that long ago. So, hey, I'm no bow expert here, okay? And you got to realize that. But it's given me some ideas because I am a machinist, and I've got my own little shop, and I have a lot of fun in there building stuff for guns. I'm starting to build stuff for bows now, and I'm going to actually develop a sight system for this kind of a bow. Now, I can't drill any holes in here to mount it, so I got to come up with a clamping system of some sort that's also going to be durable, take the vibration, etc. You know, so I'm going to do some modifications to this bow, obviously. Now, a few other things that I knew about that I like to pass on some information of is, don't ever dry fire a bow, okay? Whether it's one of these recurves, a good quality recurve, or whether it's a compound bow, or even a crossbow for that matter, never, ever, ever dry fire a bow. Now you're gonna ask me, why not? Okay, well, you can cause damage to the bow, you can cause damage to yourself, if damage gets caused to the bow where the bow, you know, kind of blows up on you. You know, so it's really just, it sucks, okay? So just don't ever dry fire a bow. And never pull back a bow, especially not without an arrow in it. You always should have an arrow in it. Now, when you're looking at a bow like this, I mean, I've seen a lot of guys, now I'm going to do this, and you know, I just told you not to, right? But I'm going to show you something. Now, just take your whole hand on here, and you know, you pull back. I see a lot of guys doing this, right? What happens is, if you accidentally let go, you just dry fired that bow, and you could cause some damage to the bow, okay? I give it about an 8 out of 10 chance. On a compound, I give it a 100% solid bulletproof. You're going to cause some sort of damage, even if it's not noticeable right away, you're going to cause some damage there, because compounds are a whole other beast, and we'll get into a little bit of that too. But now, for an under $100 bow, when you buy these things, they come in a kit. You get the bow, you get a cheesy string, you get a couple of arrows, a finger palm pad release thing, and a cheesy quiver. Now, because I got my bow for free, I didn't get all that stuff. I didn't even get an arrow with the damn thing. So, of course, cap had to be replaced, new string, go out, buy some arrows. So the wife went out and with me, and we got about 6 arrows. And it's actually these ones that are designed for these bows. Okay, that's another important thing, is you have to have the right arrow for your bow, for the poundage, etc. But these practice fiberglass jobbies here, these are awesome for these kind of bows, because they're designed for it. Whether it's this one or a smaller model, these are designed to work kind of universally with these things, because they're not a, I guess maybe it's because it's not a serious bow, or this is just that particular type of an arrow where it's fine with this kind of a recurve and the other cheaper bows like it. So anyways, with these, I mean, I've torn fletchings off, I've replaced fletchings, I've learned how to do that. That's really sucks. So I'm kind of glad they now have that quick fletch thing that's out now. They're awesome. Saves a lot of time and glue on the fingers and stuff. But anyway, these things fly really nice. You can beat the hell out of them. I must have shot these hundreds and hundreds of times, and I did lose a couple tips, so I had to machine myself some new tips. For a couple of them, I think I only got one left that still has an original tip. Plus, of course, I'm missing one of these arrows because it decided it wanted to go la-la one day. So it decided to go on its own. I never found it. So anyway, now I have tried some carbon Fury arrows in this thing, and they're 100 grain tip, and they'll shoot, but the bow does react differently. So there is something to be said about having the proper arrow for the draw weight of your bow, the length of arrow for the draw of the shooter, etc. Now, with a recurve, they're pretty universal in a sense, really, when it comes to the draw, because you can draw it back, you know, within limitations, of course. But you know, I'm going to pull this right-handed because normally I am right-handed with this one, but you know, I can pull this all the way back. Now that gives me, oh, sliding off, that gives me an awful lot of pull and poundage, so I can actually get a little bit of extra power out of this bow. Now, this is where I'm going to take you to the other bow I have that also says it's an Indian bow, and I find this thing has a much lighter pull on it, and let's get this knocked in. Now this also has the finger savers on it, which is awesome. You don't even have to use a glove with this one. I'd like to get them put on my next string I have made for that one though. But this one here, this is effortless. Like, so I'm guessing this is maybe 20 pounds. That's about maybe 30, 35 pounds. Okay, and yet they both say Indian on them, but if you really look at the thickness of the limbs, the widths of the limbs, there's some minor discrepancies. And it really, to be honest with you, from what I found out, it doesn't take much, okay, to get a few little minor discrepancies going. And then it creates a whole different difference in what kind of power you have, whether it be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 pounds, right? Now this bow here, this one actually flips. So you flip it up the other way to shoot the opposite hand. So if you're going to shoot left-handed, now I'm not going to move up my finger things for this, but just to give you an idea. So now this is proper setup for left-handed shooting, right? But when you're looking at this, okay, string, eye, yeah, we're all good to go. We can let her go. No sight system, but I'm going to build a sight system and mod the hell out of my other one, because it's a good platform to do it with, and see if I can come up with some sort of a clamp-on device that's going to stay there, and you know, and if I'm successful, hey, I'll definitely show you guys the finished results. Now you see, this is the difference, eh? The handle. I can't just switch this over to the other side. I have to physically turn the bow around this way to change over for right-handed shooting. Now there is nothing wrong with this bow, and I got this one for free too, which is pretty cool. And I like it. It's a pretty good little reliable bow. So, and again, you're talking about, you know, in Canadian dollars, we're talking about maybe 80 bucks, 90 bucks, which is a good place to start. So if you're just getting into archery, these are 60-inch recurves. Recurve is a wonderful bow. They've been around for like thousands of years, the recurve design. You know, and they're a really proven design. So at least this is what I've been finding. Of course, you also got long bows and, you know, crossbows, etc. But if you're going to get into like regular bow shooting, be it, you know, recurve or compound, I would probably go for a really, really cheap compound to start with. If you're going to go compound bow, or really cheap recurve like one of these, because if you don't stick with it, it's a lot of money down the tubes if you spent a lot of money, you know, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to get into this to find out if you like it. And if you do like it, then hey, you might shoot this from time to time. You might just leave it on the wall. You know, at least if you buy something better, you can always sell this and get at least, you know, half to 3/4 of your money back, you know, of your investment. You know, you never know. I like to keep stuff like this because weapons are fun. Now again, with this one, I've shot the Carbon Furies through it. And I mean, when you look at the length difference here, the Carbon Fury comes in at about 1/2 inch longer. And in technical terms, it's about 1/2 inch. By the time you get your knock string placement in there and do the math, you're about 1/2 inch. So measuring them up here, you're looking at, from the back of the nock to where the tip screws in, you're looking at a little over 30, well, about 30.5 for the Carbon Fury. And for the practice arrow that comes pre-built from the factory, right to where the edge lip of the tip is, it's 30 inches. So there's a little bit of a difference there, not much. You know, but there is a weight difference, and these things behave a little differently because they're not designed or set up for these particular recurve bows. Now, when you're moving on here to a compound bow, this is my other bow recently I given to me by a good friend. Now these, some people do actually finger release. Now if you're really good at it, hey, knock yourself silly. I would much rather use a release with a bow like this, because I seen a video where a guy pulled back, and I guess it was done on purpose, because some people have a habit, you know, either the bow is swaying or something, or you cock your hand for some stupid reason and it jumps the track, okay? And that can cause a lot of damage. You might get lucky and they might be able to just, you know, put it back on the track, but sometimes you can cause an awful lot of damage. You can seriously get hurt. I would shoot with a release personally. And these things, the same thing. Don't ever pull it back unless you got an arrow in there, because if your D-loop breaks and you dry fire, you can cause some big damage, okay? So, but I really like this bow, and like I said, it is left-handed, and I shoot really well with this bow. I really like it, and it's compact, it's not all that heavy. I do have the original stabilizer with it too. Plus I've been building some stabilizers lately that actually should be up on my website by now. And the stabilizer, I do find, actually does help for accuracy. I actually shoot much better and more accurate with this stabilizer on than with it off. Okay, and it does take a lot of vibration out of the bow because of the rubber boot in here. Okay, it absorbs a lot of that vibration. But that's a nice bow, you know, and that's nicely balanced. I really like that. And this one I found out was set at 55 pounds. I thought it was actually set at max at 70, and I'm like, 55? Okay. Now with a compound, you don't just shoot all day with this. I just learned a very valuable lesson about that, by the way, guys. Even though this is at 55 pounds, and I can pull it back. I've got the muscle for it. What I found out was I put about 60 rounds through this thing, about, I guess, a little over 2 weeks ago. I did it in one day with breaks. Trust me, it was a lot of fun, right? Because I want to get really good with this bow, right? Because I actually want to start getting into hunting. And so that's going to be my weapon of choice, is going to be for bow hunting. And I want to use this bow for it. So I got to practice up, and I figured, you know what, I've got muscle. I can, you know, I can crank this thing. Well, let me tell you, after about 10 shots, 12 shots, around there, it started to get a little bit harder to pull back. So I'd take a break, and then I'd rifle off another 6 arrows. And I'd take a break and rifle off 4. And then I go to the 5th, and it's like, oh my God. And I'm making a face and all, and you know. So anyways, long story short, after about 60 rounds of this brutal punishment to my body, it put me out of commission. I couldn't even pull the thing until about 2 days ago. I'm finally able to pull this sucker back. Now, recurve bow, even if it's a 70-pound pull, doesn't matter. You can just fire, 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 fire all day long and shoot 10,000 arrows off a day if you can manage to figure out a way to do it. And you won't put yourself into the same position. Here's why. Now, when you pull back a recurve, okay, just so I do everything proper for you guys, when you're pulling back on a recurve, you have a choice of how much weight you pull back. Okay, so if you just want to pull back a little bit and fire, let me do this right-handed. If you want to pull back just a little bit and fire, you know, good for short range shooting, you can just go like that. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, you don't have to go full draw out. And you can feel that, like up in here. You can actually start feeling that after you've rifled off a whack load of shots by doing a full draw all the time. So if you want to build your arms up, it's better to actually shoot with less pull and just build up, build up, build up. Now, I could easily pull back with my right arm probably 30 shots before it would bother me, even in the slightest, with a compound, except it's a lefty. So, kind of screwed. I got to pull back this way. So anyways, so that's a big major difference there, is you control the weight that you pull back with a recurve right up into its max draw, okay? With a compound bow, you have that weight right there, right at the start. So, you know, that's like taking 70 pounds if it's set at 70 or 83 or 86, okay? And that's like trying to pick that up, okay, with just a couple of fingers maybe, right? It's going to be really hard, and you got to really until the let off happens, and it's like, oh, cool. Now I'm only holding back, you know, 5, 10, or 15 pounds. Some of the new bows that are out now apparently are down to like 1 pound, you know, and probably even less. Technology is awesome, but pulling a compound is a lot different story. And now, the other thing about compounds that you got to look for too, especially if you're just a beginner, and this is like, you know, just advice and stuff I've been learning myself, so I'm passing it on to you. I'm not an expert. Get a bow that you can deal with, okay? Like my bow, my compound is a 55 by 70, okay, which means it cannot be set below 55 pounds, okay, because you can only unscrew those screws so far, and it starts getting dangerous. So if I actually have that thing set below 50, I'm chancing exploding my bow, okay? So it gets to be a critical point. You know, I could probably get away with 50 all day long. I mean, it's 5 pounds, what's that, a quarter of a turn more? But if I tried to drop it, you know, down too far below factory specs, I could damage the bow, definitely damage myself if it explodes. So right now it's at 55. It can stay there because I only need, like, I think it's 50 or 55 to hunt with anyways for deer. So that's more than adequate. And I'm shooting this thing out at 40 yards right now. I have no problem hitting my target and hitting within a good grouping, within, you know, like what's a plate about, you know, this big around. I can hit within a grouping like that now with it. So I'm getting much better with it, and sights are awesome. You know, there's nothing that beats having sights, which is another reason why I want to do sights on this bow here. So a little bit of information for you is on different bows and stuff, and I'm learning as I go too, and we're always learning new stuff, right? Now, a lot of guys, you see videos about, they ask, you know, how do you string or unstring a recurve bow, right? Because a compound bow, you take it into a shop, they got the professional tools, they know what they're doing, because I ain't ever going to do it. I'll let it be done by a pro. Now, on a bow like this, there's a couple different ways to load and offload the string. Now, one way you can do this is you put the bow right up against your foot. Make sure you got shoes on when you do this, okay? And then you just bend into it, and you can lift it off, and you're unstrung. And same thing, if you've got the muscle to do this, you string it right back up again. Now, this may not be 100% the most safest way, but believe me, they've been doing this for about 10,000 years, okay, or for however long the bow has been around, which has been for thousands of years. And, you know, for the amount of accidents I think have happened in the last, you know, 8,000 years or so, I don't think it's a big issue. But you should use a proper bow stringer, okay, you really should. Just because it's a lot safer, okay, more so than anything. Now, the other thing you can do is called a step through. Now, if your bow is already strung, step through it with your right leg or your left, depending on which way you want to do this, and put the front edge of the bottom limb into your ankle, and then you just pull down. Now, I know you can't see my ankle, but you know, I'm running this thing myself. I don't have a automatic camera here. And you can do the same thing. You unstring it, step out, you want to restring it, make sure you got that bottom one into the groove, and same thing, put her back on there. And see, now if your string lets go at the bottom, that's where it's going to pop, okay? And, you know, if you're a guy, you might just miss your family parts there, okay? Miss, you know, not injure, but miss them. Anyway, so, you know, just double check, make sure everything's good on both ends, and you're set to go. Now, personally, guys, this bow, it's been strung like this for, well, this is the first time I've released the pressure off of it since I got it. Now, it's been a good nine, almost 10 years now, you know, so it's been strung up and with the exact same string. You know, they say, you know, you should change your string every year or when it starts to show signs of wear. Well, this hasn't shown any signs of wear yet, and I keep it waxed. When I'm done shooting, I re-wax it. If I get the bow wet because I get caught in the rain, I wipe it all down. I let it all dry out about overnight, okay? And I make sure that the serving is really dry, okay? Then I'll go and I'll re-wax the string again, and if it sits on my wall for another 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a week, no big deal. If it sits there for 6 months, and I know it's going to sit there for that long, then once a month I'll take it down, I'll wipe it down, take the dust off, put more wax on, whether it needs it or not. I always put wax on my serving too, because I don't want the serving to rot. Okay, and that's the important thing is that if you do get caught in the rain, you're going to get water on your serving if your serving is dry. Okay, because you really technically don't need to wax the serving, because that's what I've been recently told. And but if you do wax it, then all the better, because it protects it from the water. But if you don't wax your serving areas, this goes for compounds too, and it gets wet, if you wax it right away, you're going to seal that water in and dry rot it, and that's what's going to give you some string issues. That's a lot of stuff, like I said, I'm learning as I go too, you know. But I thought I would give you guys a bit of a review on this particular bow and talk about other types of bows and different, you know, safety things you got to keep in mind when shooting a bow. And don't aim it at people, you know, that's very bad, you know. But and never dry fire it, very bad thing to do. So, and don't ever pull any bow back unless you've got an arrow in it, even a recurve, you know. Because I know, like, some of you guys say, well, I do it all the time, and I pull it back like this. You know, Now, if you slip, it dry fires and it damages you, well, you only get yourself to blame, right? So that's why you don't pull back unless you've got an arrow in there. This way, if you accidentally let go, at least you're not dry firing the bow. You just damage whatever the arrow hits. Good mathematics there, I think. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I hope I didn't bore the hell out of you too much. And if you got any questions or whatever, I'll do my best to answer them. Like I said, I'm learning new stuff all the time myself. And I'm really enjoying the sport of archery. I think it's a great thing for everybody to get into. You know, and I guess one last thing I should pick up on is when you're looking at a compound bow, especially a compound, sizing up the bow to you is very critical, especially for the draw length. These bows need to be set up for each individual. Okay, so when you buy a bow, it has to be able to be set up for you. So that's going to dictate a lot on the size of the bow. Now, if you look at my compound here, I mean, physically, this thing is not very big. I mean, even compare it to a full-length arrow here, you know, from the back of the roller. I mean, that's not a very large. I mean, that's 30-inch arrow, right? Or 31-inch arrow. So we're talking about 36 inches of bow from here to here. Physically, it's not very big. But this bow can actually be set, well, right now it's set at a 28-inch, which is, my buddy that gave me this is 28-inch. I'm also 28-inch. We're the exact same build and draw length, which is like awesome. But this thing can be set for other draw lengths too, because it has the different nocks for doing it. But it can't be set lower than 28-inch. So if you need, like, say, a 26-inch or, you know, type of thing, this bow is not going to work for you. So you have to get a bow that's meant for you. So that could dictate how much you end up having to spend on a compound bow. So if you're going to seriously get into compound bows, like I said, I started out cheap, worked my way up, you know. But if you're going to get into these compounds, they do have to be set up for the individual who's shooting it, because it's for their draw length. Okay, so that's a very, very important thing to know about too. So anyways, once again, sorry, thanks for watching. I won't keep you any longer, and we'll see you on the next video.